All right, good. All right, so that helps clear things up a little bit. Okay, so yeah, let's come back to Replit. Okay, so we got this class. Give it a new line there. Hit enter. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right. So now the light needs some sort of state, right? It's got state. What sort of state are we trying to keep track of with our light?
Um, like the status
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you
on
want
or
to call
off.
that? Yeah, right. We want to keep track of whether it's on or off, right? So how
Mhm.
many different values of on and off can we have?
Two.
Yeah, right. So what would be a good, so we need two, if we're going to create state, we need to have a variable, right? And so and a variable needs two things. It needs a name and it needs a data type. So what would be a good name for a variable?
Um, like
All right, let's do the other one first. What would be a good data type for the variable?
uh, string.
Okay, yeah, that's what you used when you did the homework. So you could use string. What would be like the two values that you would put in a string? Like we only need two values, right? We need to know if it's on or we need to know if it's off, right? So you could use a string and like maybe you give it the string. Oh, Alejandra's here. Okay. All right, good. Alejandra, I thought you weren't coming. How are you?
Hello.
Good. All right. So what we were doing, so last week I spent all week all evening talking, and tonight I'm not going to do that. Tonight you guys are going to do a lot of programming.
Okay.
So the first exercise, we're going to do two, I think we're going to do two exercises tonight, hopefully. One of them we're going to do together, and one of them we're going to ask you to do on your own. So what we're doing right now is we're working on, did you try the homework, the light switch?
I tried it. I couldn't really. I mean, I figured it out at the end, but I don't exactly understand how I did it,
Mm,
like why it worked.
okay. Well, we're going to try and write it together. So Pranav we're just all going to do this one together. So Pranav is typing, but we're all going to help with the programming. So we have a class called Light, and we need to be able to keep track of the state. The state of the light is either on or off, right? So there's
Hmm.
two possible. So we need two values, right? The on value and the off value. So we're trying to think, so we need some sort of variable to keep track of it. And we're trying to think of what kind of, any variable needs two things. It needs a name and a type. So we're trying to figure out a good name and a good type for this variable. So Pranav suggested string. What type, what data type would you suggest, Alejandro? I think we might have lost Alejandro. Nuts. All right. Oh, and you're back. You there?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So we're trying to keep track of the state of the light. It's either on or off, right? And so we need some sort of variable to keep track of the state. So any variable, we need a name and we need a type. So what data type do you think would be good for keeping track of the state of the light? We have four choices. We have integer,
Boolean.
Boolean. Yeah, I think that's a good choice because it's only one of two states. If we used a string, right? Strings can have an infinite number of values, right? And okay, we're limiting it to just two special values, and that's okay. It could work. If we were tracking 3 or 4 variable values, maybe we would use a string. But since we're only keeping track of two values, I think that a Boolean is the best way to do it. So that'll be the type of our value. Of a variable will be Boolean. So you can type that in, Pranav. Okay, and now we need a good name for this variable. So what would be a good name for the variable?
Um, switch,
What?
like switch.
Well, the light is our light switch, so that we're not keeping track of the switch here. We're keeping track of the state, whether it's on or whether it's off. So, what would be a better name?
Status.
Okay, status would be okay. Okay, we can go with
I
that.
was thinking of literally on or off.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and on or off is also, those are also good values because status can mean so many things. Status is a little bit vague. So on, so a lot of times when we use Boolean variables, we give it a name like is something or has something or I don't know, was something, you know, like is on. Because now it's if it's true, it is on. If it's false, then it's off. Or has if we were trying to keep track of whether or not somebody had already registered for a class, right? We might have, it might be called is registered, and true would mean that they are registered, false would mean that they haven't registered, something like that. So but you can use status. Status was suggested, and I'm not here to write your program for you, so let's go with status, okay? All right, so, and that's all we needed, just a little semicolon there, bam, bam, okay, good. All right, so that's our state. Now we need some behavior. So there's, what kind of behaviors does the light need to have? What do we need to be able to do to this light?
Tell it to go off or on.
Yep, that's right. We need to tell it to go off or on, and we also need to be able to have it print out, whether, is it on or is it off? So, so we provide behavior by implementing a method, or so we need a method to turn the light on or off.
Okay, so wait a second. Okay, so oh, okay, I see. So do you need to check in public static void?
Okay, so not static, but void, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Someday we'll explain what all this public and static stuff is about.
and then wait, what should the name be? Like, should we say measure?
What do you think, Alejandro? What would be a good name for this method?
Mm.
And you can just copy it from your homework if you already wrote this code. What's this method gonna do?
It's going to like tell you the state of the light switch.
Okay, so this is the one to tell you the state. All right, so display state.
Okay.
Okay. So does it take any parameters?
No.
It doesn't. It's just going to, based on what the state is, it's going to print out, some message. So it doesn't need any additional information. The information that it has is already inside the class. The information that it needs is the status. So it's already got that. So it doesn't need any parameters. So yeah, curly braces, enter, yep. So now just, if the status is true, then it's going to print one message. If it's false, it's going to print another message.
So wait, if statement?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Good.
Oh, oops.
Yeah. Okay. So the way that we, yep, system, right? Right. Good.
So,
Yeah, just say something like the light is on.
okay. And then a second if statement, like,
Okay, so you need
oh
a
wait,
you
and
need
else.
you need a semicolon at the end of the line to
Oh,
close to finish the statement. All right, and then you could write another if statement, but you don't have to. What else could you do, Alejandra?
The if else.
Yeah, you just yeah, right. So just put an else there. Yeah, yeah.
oops.
All right, good. So that's one of our methods. That's display state. So now what's the other behavior that we need here?
Can you type it in?
What are we trying to do to our light switch? One thing is we want to know whether it's on or off. What's the other thing that we want to be able to do to our light switch?
To be able to turn it off and on.
Right, right. So we need some sort of method that's going to allow us to change the value of status. It's going to allow us to turn the light on and off. Right? Good.
Should I just do, wait, what should I call it? On or off?
What do you think, Alejandro? What would you call it?
Yeah. I don't know.
All right. Well, it's a method that wants to. There's a few different names that you could use here that I would consider using. One is what we're trying to do is we're trying to set the value of a particular variable. The variable's name is status. So one thing you commonly do is you say something like set status. So a method called set status would set the value of status. Maybe there might be another method called get status that would get the value of the variable. Another thing we could do here, but so that's one way that you could do. Another name that you might use is turn on. Right? You might have a method called turn on that would set the status to true, and another method called turn off that would set the status to false, something like that. So those would be see if I can think of anything else that I would do. Or I might have another method like, so if you had turn on and turn off, that would be two methods. Or you could have one method called, turn on or off. That would take a parameter that's like whether you're setting it on or off. So those are three choices you can choose from. Set status, or turn on and turn off, or turn on off. What would you like to do?
I think set status like sounds just the most like short. So.
Okay. So does this need a parameter?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. So like, how do you change the status of the Boolean, or like
Okay.
the true?
So you would say status equals true, or you say status equals false, or you would say status equals something. That's how we set the value of any variable.
Okay. You're saying.
Okay, so the problem here is that you actually do need a parameter.
Oh,
So because you don't know what you know that you want to set the value of status, but you don't know what you want to set it to. If we had a method called turn on, right, it wouldn't need a parameter. We would just say status gets true because that's what turn on is supposed to do, right? And turn off would just set status equals false. But set status is trying to do both, right? Sometimes you want to turn it on, sometimes you want to turn it off. So it needs a parameter to know this time, are we turning it on or are we turning it off? So I would do something like have a parameter called like new status. That would be a Boolean. And then I would set status equals new status.
oh,
No, oh yeah, right. Okay, that's fine.
okay.
Okay, but you have to give it a type, which
Oh,
we're declaring a variable. It just happens to be in the space in the position of a parameter, right?
so it'd still be a Boolean, right?
Right, exactly.
But do I put that before?
No.
Okay.
Just goes right in the parameter list. The parameter list is basically a set of variable declarations.
Okay.
Right.
And
No. It's
okay.
no code. Just only declarations.
Okay. Um,
Yep. Right. Okay. So good. And so this really completes our class for the time being, right? So we have we have on line 1 we declare our class light. On line 2 we declare our instance variable called status. On line 3 we start a method that's going to display the state, whether it's on or off. And on line 11 we start a method called set status that sets the light either on or off. Okay, so we have one instance variable and we have two methods.
okay.
Questions at this point? All right, so now we're gonna go over to main and we're gonna use this. We already got the tab open. All right, good.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we need a variable for our light. So I would call it like the light. We only have one light. So my name that I would suggest is the light. What would the type of the variable be? So classes are actually types, right? So we've talked about sort of four built-in, or really five built-in types. We've talked about integer, double, string, Boolean, and then there's also void is a type. But we can also create our own types, and that's what the light class is, or the person class, or the lion class, or whatever. And these classes that we create are actually types. And so we need a variable called the light, and the type of it is going to be light.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, good. And now we want to initialize it. So if we had an integer, we could say something like int, the integer equals 6 or 12 or whatever. If we had a string, we could say The string equals hello. If we had a Boolean, we could say the Boolean equals true. In this case, we have to use a special keyword. With classes, we have to use a special keyword called new, which what new does is it creates an instance of the class. So we say the light space equals new space, and then light, capital L, and then two parentheses, and then semicolon, okay? So what this does, the new light, that creates an instance of the class light, and then the rest of it should be straightforward. It just assigns that value to the light. Okay, so now let's say we want to turn the light on. How would we do that?
We would have to ask it, like, we would have to make it read the line, like read whatever you type, and then based on that, like run the method.
Right, so the homework assignment wanted us to have a loop where we read a command in from the user and use that, based on that command, we set a value. We did something with the light. But for right now, let's just forget about that and let's just have the program just do it straight up. So we want to have the program turn the light on.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Why is the light underlined as with green, highlighted with green?
Sure, that's a good question. Why don't you hover over the green squiggle, Pranav? So what it's complaining about is it says, hey, you've created this variable called the light, and you put something into it, which is good, but you've never bothered to read it, right? You've never bothered to look inside this variable that you created. And in a larger program, that would be cause for concern, right? Why did you bother to create this variable that you never used, right? So in this case, we just haven't gotten around to using it. And the green squiggle will go away once we use it. So, okay, so we want to turn this light on. How do we turn the light on? All right, so what we do is we take this variable called the light, and we type that in. The light.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, and now we use dot. And when we do dot, it's actually giving us what is available to us. Most of these are sort of built-in, sort of junky things that all classes have. But you'll notice that we have three things in there that are ours, that we wrote. One is status. You see that right at the top of the pop-up?
Mm-hmm.
See where it says status?
Yeah.
And then right below that, it says display state. That was ours that we wrote. And then a little further down is set status. That's the other thing that we wrote.
Right.
So these are all these other things are just built in, all classes get. So what we want to do is we want to set the status to, like on. So we're gonna just go down to that set status. Yeah. And now we have to put in a value. If we're turning it on, that we need to pass in a true. Okay. So what this said, what line 4 says, is to call the set status method on the light object and pass it the value true.
Oh.
And that's gonna wind up calling that method that we wrote over there on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna set the instance variable status to true. So now we can ask the light to tell us whether it's on or off. So on line 5, what should we do? What do you think we should do on line 5 in order to get the light to tell us what state it's in?
I'll print it out. Like if it's
Oh, do we have to call like on the method?
Call what?
Like call the method, like run the method. Mhm.
Right. We have to call that method that we already wrote, display state, right? We want to call that method, and that method will do the system.out.println line based on the state. So how do we invoke a method on an object?
Oh,
How did we invoke the setStatus method on the object?
oh, you have to put the light and then dot and then put the method.
Yep, that's exactly right. You see that, Alejandra?
what?
So the way that we invoke a method on an object is we type in the name of the object
Mm-hmm.
and then dot, and then we put in the name of the method that we want to invoke. So in this case, it's display state. Okay, so now if we run this, it should create a light, turn it on, and then tell us that it's on.
It's something still.
It worked for me.
Oh, have you been typing this in too, Alejandra?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Good.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with your repository there.
wait, should I try refreshing the page?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, it said failed to connect. Oh wait, no, never mind. It's connected now. So,
Okay. Great. All right. So let's go back to the program and turn the light off. How would we do that?
Set it to false.
Yeah. No. Let's keep the code that we already had.
okay.
All right. But now let's go ahead and turn the light off and check and see if it's off.
Wait, what?
Okay, so we turned it on and we saw that it's on. Now we want to turn it off and see that it's off.
Wait, so don't we have to change this to false?
Yeah, I just don't. I want to turn the light on, and then after that, I want to also turn it off.
Oh, I see.
Sorry, it's hard to explain.
Oh, you want to do both?
What's that?
Wait, what do we do?
Okay, so we already have a program that turns the light on and displays it, right? Says that it's on. After that, I want to turn the light back off and then display the state again and show that it's off.
Ah,
Okay. Oops.
Looks good. Okay, let's try that. Great. Okay, so line 3, we create a light. On line 4, we turn it on. On line 5, we tell it to tell us whether it's on or off. On line 6, we turn it off. And on line 7, we display it again. Okay?
Okay.
All right, suppose we had 2 lights. So I want you to create another light and do whatever you want with it. Turn it on, turn it off, however many times you feel like,
Wait,
and
so another class?
display the state. What?
So we have to create another class?
No, we want to have, so we, you know, instead of having one light bulb, we've got like, you know, 2 different lights in our house. And we want to keep track of them individually. We want to keep track of what, you know, this, you know, maybe we have like a kitchen light and a living room light, something like that, right? And so we want to keep track of whether the kitchen light is on or off, and we want to keep track of whether the, what did I say, the kitchen and the dining room, we want to keep track of those lights, whether they're on or off. So in that situation, right, a light is still a light, right? But we need to have 2 of them.
Oh, so we create another method inside light.
Nope. Okay, go back to main. All right. Suppose we wanted to have 2 integers, like a width and a height. What would we do?
Oh, you would set like int height and int width.
Right. Exactly. Right. We would declare 2 variables. We would declare 2 integer variables, one for the width and one for the height. So here we're trying to keep track of 2 light bulbs. Again, a light is the same thing as a type, right? It's a type that we created instead of one that's built into Java. So if we want to have 2 integers, we have 2 integer variables. If we want to have 2 booleans, we have 2 boolean variables. If we want to have 2 strings, we have 2 string variables. If we want to have 2 lights, we have 2
Light variables.
light variables. Yes, very good. Okay, so we need 2 light variables.
Okay. Should I change this to like the kitchen light?
You could do that. Yep. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and just like double click on that and copy and paste it over to the other one. Or whatever. Just have fun with it for a minute. Just like, as long as you got 2 lights and you turn them on and off and display their values, then you're good.
Then
Just a second, I'll be right back.
all right.
Okay, I thought the dog was scratching at the door. Okay. All right. How's it going? What'd you say, Alejandro? Not too good?
I didn't say anything.
Oh. Okay.
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 So don't we have to go to the method and change the like system out print line to like say the dining room light is off and the kitchen light is on?
Very good. So you're a little bit ahead of me.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a minute. Why don't you just run what you got there?
Okay.
Right. Okay, Alejandra, how you doing?
I'm typing everything up.
Okay.
For me, okay, it's good.
Good. Okay. So Pranav's right. Like this works. We are keeping track of the kitchen light and we are keeping track of the dining room light. And they can be on and off independent of each other. All right. This is because they each have their own copy of the state of they each have their own. They're two separate objects. Okay. So, but the message is confusing. We really do. We wanted to say the kitchen light or the dining room light, right? So that so that when we see the message, we know which light we're talking about. So, we have a light class and it has one variable and two methods. There's a special kind of method that a class can have called a constructor. And the constructor gets called when you create the instance of the class. So you see, go back to me. So you see on lines 3 and 4, that's where we create, that's where we instantiate. The vocabulary is a little bit weird, but it's when we create an instance of light, right? We say new, light, and then parentheses. Those parentheses, don't they look like calling a function? Right?
Yeah.
That's how we call functions, is with parentheses like that, right? And that's what it is doing. It is calling this constructor method. Now, by default, all classes have a constructor method that takes no parameters and does nothing. And that's what we have with our light class. There's this sort of invisible constructor method that gets invoked on lines 3 and 4. But what we want is we want to assign, when we create the light, we want to give it a name. And so the new light on lines 3 and 4, if you put a let's put a string in there that says whether it's the kitchen light or the dining room light.
In here?
Yeah.
Mhm.
No. Actually, just put a string like quote,
Oh.
kitchen or quote dining room.
Okay.
Right, very good. Okay, so now when we create our light method, now we will call the constructor with that value instead of just nothing. But there's there's no default constructor method that understands what you're sending it there. So now we have to go back to the light class, just click on the tab. We have to go back to light and we have to create this constructor method. Okay, so give me a couple of blank lines under status.
Right here?
Yeah, we could make a couple between lines 2 and 3. We need a couple of blank lines there. Yeah, great, perfect. Okay, so like on line 4, yeah. So say public, and then the name of the class. Okay, and then just like any other method, you would say left parenthesis. And then what kind of variable are we taking in here? What did we just put in main? What are we trying to send this constructor?
To see like which light you're trying to turn off or on.
That we're trying to pass it the name of the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Right. So we need what kind of variable do we need here? What kind of variable for our parameter?
Oh.
Can it also be Boolean?
I'm sorry, what?
Can it also be a Boolean?
Let's go back over to main. You see lines 3 and 4. What kind of value are you passing the light class constructor?
Oh, a string?
Yeah. See that, Alejandra?
What?
On lines 3 and 4, you see those values, kitchen and dining room?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the values that you're trying to pass into the constructor, and those are strings, right? So we
Mhm.
need a string variable in our constructor. All right, so let's go back over to light.
Okay. So that should.
Right, and so now we need a name for our variable. What would be a good name for this?
Type. No.
Do you capitalize the S in string?
I think you do.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so what are we trying to do here? What is this value going to be? It's going to be the name of our light, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a good name for the variable.
Name of light?
Okay, sure. Okay, and now like any other method, it needs a couple of curly braces. All right. Okay. And now, so one thing we haven't done yet is we have no instance variable to keep track of the name, right? We're passing it in. We now have a constructor. This thing would actually compile and run right now if we ran it, but we're not taking this variable and doing anything with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need an instance variable to keep track of the name of the light. So up right after line 2, we need another variable. After the status, we need another variable. What should its type be?
A string.
Yep, that's exactly right. It should be a string, capital S. Let me double check.
Why do you capitalize the S?
Because strings are actually classes. They're sort of a special class, but and by convention, class names are capitalized.
Oh,
All
so
right.
is that why? Right. So is that why, like, when I type in string, it doesn't highlight in blue like the other types do?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So
Wait,
string.
what?
Pranav was saying, if you notice, like Boolean is blue, all these sort of keywords are blue. Public, void, if, true, else, all these sort of special words that Java knows about are
Huh?
blue, but string is not blue. And that's because it is a little bit different. It's this sort of special class.
Oh wait, so what was the string name?
Okay, so we need a name for our, so now we have a type for our instance variable, and now we need a name for it.
Mhm.
How about just like name? Can we
Okay.
just name? Okay, perfect. All right, and new line. Bam, new line. All right.
Oh,
Yeah. Yep. Okay, good. Okay, so now inside our constructor, we need to take name of light and assign it to name.
mm, wait, how exactly do you do that? So wait. mm,
I'm sorry, did you say something, Pranav?
Wait, how do we assign it again? Like,
The same way we assign any other value to any other variable. You see down on line 19 where we assign new status to status?
oh, oh, okay, so and we do that for name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What do you think, Alejandro? What do you think of line 6?
What I'm supposed to be thinking?
What?
What am I supposed to be thinking about it?
you think that'll work? What box are we putting something into? What variable are we giving a value?
Hmm.
We're putting a value into the instance variable called name, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
But what value are you putting into it? What is new name?
The name.
Where does new name come from?
Good question.
There is nothing called new name. What are we trying to put into our instance variable?
Oh, the two like rooms that the light is in.
Right.
So,
All right. Let me see if I can grab the screen for a minute and
okay.
sketch something out for you. Oh, whoops. Hold on a second. All right. Okay. So over here we have something like light 1 gets new light of kitchen. Okay. And so what this is trying to do is it's trying to create an instance of light with the name kitchen. And what we want to wind up with is a light with two variables. It's got status and it's got name. We want this value to go there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the light class has a constructor called light public light. Right. This name is this, right? So the way that gets there, this has to come into here, and then there gets assigned, right? So we have, in here we have string. You called it name of light.
Mm-hmm.
So this has to look like this. Name is to equal name of light. That creates a path like that. That's a lot of squiggles. Let's go back to your program. I'm gonna stop sharing and let's go back to your program.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go back to light and I'll give you 23 seconds to figure out what. It.
Yeah.
Great. What'd you do? Printed out the name of the light?
Hmm?
You printed out, what'd you do? You printed out the name of the light?
Wait,
Awesome. Okay, what's wrong with line 6?
1 second. Oh wait, no, I misunderstood it. Sorry.
All right. So the problem with line 6, we're running out of time, so I'm just going to tell you. So what's the name of your parameter?
Name of light.
Right. So name of light is the parameter. That's the thing that has the value kitchen or dining room in it, right? Yeah, there you go.
So
So, yeah, that's it. All right. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So let's run that and see what happens. Oh, right. So we're still not actually using the name. So we've set the name, but we haven't used it. So we need to go down to lines 12 and 14 and change those statements to, say the whatever light is on.
Is it just supposed to say the light is on, the light is off, the light is on, the light is off? Like, is it just...
If that's what you have programmed.
Oh, so I did do it. Yay.
But we're trying to get it to say what kind of light is on. No, that's not right. How do we know what the name of this? We have two different objects, right? One's got a value of dining room in name. One's got a value of kitchen in name, right? So how can we tell the two objects apart?
I don't know.
Okay, so there's
Oh, wait, do we have to do the and then plus name of light?
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
You gotta do what?
this was a specific.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm. And so it's not name of light. So name of light is the parameter name. What's your instance variable name?
Name, just name.
Yep. Yeah, with a capital N. There you go.
Oh, do I need another plus?
Yep. Mm-hmm. There you go. Yep, that's right. And then do that for the other one too.
Okay.
Oh, I feel dumb now.
How come?
Because it was kind of obvious what we had to do for that.
Well, don't worry. You'll get to use your insight this week. Okay. So Alejandro? Do you see what's wrong with lines 12 and 14? I give you 10 seconds.
No, I'm not finished yet. What? Wait, what?
All right. Somebody tell me what. I'll give you 10 seconds. What's wrong with lines 12 and 14?
Oh, you have to add spaces.
Very good. That's great. I thought we were gonna have to run this before we figured that out. You see that, Pranav?
Oh,
Go ahead and run the program, Pranav, and you'll see.
Oh, I see. Oh, do we just add it like that?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay.
Yay. It worked.
Great.